Ivan. But yeah, so she's pretty cool. So again, as Kyle mentioned, she is an attacker as an adventure assassin. So her primary is an attacker, and it's one activate for one dark mana, Shadow Blade for 30 plus. So the additional effect is if any of your active creatures have already slain one of your opponent's active creatures during this combat round, deal an additional 40 damage to the target. So she's really good to go second if you have slain people. So especially late game, even as a primary, she can hit for what is it, 70 damage for one mana. That's pretty strong. So
Yeah, and especially if you got the hit and run too. As soon as you play her onto your battlefield, then you can just hit really hard. But as the adventure, it does actually promote into a bunch of different creatures. And so starting with the first attacker type that it can promote into, which is the adventurer ninja. And so yeah, why don't you go ahead and talk about this one?
yeah, so she's got 70 HP, so 20 more than the primary version. It still has the same keywords: humanoid, Glyvan, adventurer, assassin. But instead, she has a trait, Step of the Shadow. So as long as she is active on your battlefield, this creature can move one additional space each combat round at any point during your turn in the attack phase. So is it the attack phase or movement phase? That's
Attack
pretty
phase.
good. That's like the fact that you can just move is pretty solid. So
Yeah, we often find that a lot of the times when you're going first, it's great to go first because you get the first opportunity to attack. But during the movement phase, it gives your opponent who's going second chance to maneuver their creatures based off of how you finish your turn in the movement phase. And so having someone like this gives you the ability during the attack phase, again, if you're going first, to once everything is set to be able to move to either target life points or attack another creature that is maybe one space out. And so it really forces your opponent to play based off of that. And the more kind of wrenches you can throw in like the traditional way, like traditional mechanics that Everlast works, the more your opponent has to think about it and the more likely they are to make a mistake.
yeah, so that's very solid, and there's a lot of abilities. There's a lot of cards where it's like your card can move an extra space, but the fact that it's in the attack phase is really strong.
So because it's an attacker type creature, it can move 2 spaces during your turn in the movement phase and an additional space during the attack phase. And then it has an attack activate for 2 darkness mana, which is Sneaky Strike, which is 70 damage and has the additional effect. If this action slays the target, draw 3 cards, which is good. Any card draw is awesome.
Yep.
And that goes into our next creature, which the adventurer assassin promotes into, which is the adventurer thief. She's got 70 hit points, so similarly to the ninja, the human Glyvan adventurer assassin keywords, and the attacker typing, and has the drop ability Filch, which is when you play this creature from your hand onto your battlefield, you may use the effects of one of your opponent's consumable item cards in their discard pile, and then it just goes right back into their discard pile. And so whether that is something that can heal, whether that is something that allows you to draw or gain mana or something like that, you can just use whatever's in your opponent's discard pile, which again really kind of keeps your opponent on your toes, on their toes, especially if you feel like there's something that they have in their discard pile and you're like really struggling on pulling stuff in your deck and they have something that could be able to help. It's a very strong drop ability.
And as being an attacker type creature, she does have the attack activate. This one's a little more expensive than the others. Umbral Ignition for 3 darkness mana. However, it does a decent amount of damage. So it's 50 plus to the primary target, and then each of the secondary targets take 20 damage. So as you can see on the little breakdown, so the primary target is in the middle, and then on the 4 corners, if there are any creatures in those 4 corners, it does damage. So the additional effect is if you have taken 3 or more points of damage from your life point total, deal an additional 30 damage to the primary target of this attack action. So again, how darkness works is the more life points you have taken from you, the stronger your cards get. So this is a good example of that. So if you have taken 3 life points, then the attack is stronger. So
Yeah, absolutely.
very good.
And that brings us into our next adventure, which is the Defender, the Adventurer Blackguard.
The Adventure Blackguard's really cool. Blackguard's really cool. I know it's one of your favorite Defender classes in all of Everlast. And this artwork specifically, oh, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, it is the Defender type creature that promotes from the assassin class. It has 80 hit points, so 10 more than any of the attackers, and it also has the humanoid, Glyvan, adventure, and assassin keywords. So same keywords, and it has a trait actually. So as long as this creature is active on your battlefield, Shadow Aura is active. So all of your dark element creatures within one space of this card cannot be affected by status ailments. This trait does not remove active status ailments. So it's not like you can move a card close to her and then remove it. However, if a card starts next to her, they cannot be affected by status ailments.
Or any new status ailments.
Yeah, and that is amazing because there is a lot of cards and a lot of decks that work off of status ailments, and status ailments can be pretty crippling in this game. So she's basically like a cover for that, which is awesome.
And she does have an attack action if you choose not to rotate her into the guard position for 3 darkness mana. She has Dreadful Eclipse, which is 20 plus, which has the additional effect, add 10 damage for each point of damage you have taken from your life point total. So that's really strong. That potentially can go up to, 90?
90, yeah.
90 damage for 3. Yes, it is a little bit expensive, especially if you're only hitting at the 20 damage mark, but if this is a late game, like that's pretty good with no drawback.
For a defender, there's not a lot of defenders that hit that hard, so yeah, that's pretty good.
And that brings us to our final creature for the Adventure Assassin promotion, which is the support creature, the Adventure Spy. She has 60 hit points, so 10 more than the original Assassin, with the Humanoid, Goliath, Adventure, and Assassin keywords, and she has the trait Observe. So, as long as she is active on your battlefield, if you have fewer active creatures on your battlefield than your opponent, all attack actions from your active Dark Element creatures costs 1 less Darkness mana.
That is super solid. Any less mana is the bet is really good.
And that stacks if you have multiple of these. And so your creatures can go from, for example, you have your Blackguard that requires 3 mana in order to attack. If you can only have technically 2 of them, since you can only have 3 adventure assassins in your deck. But that reduces it to a cost of 1 dark mana. Or if there's something that doesn't promote from that has 3 dark mana cost, you can reduce the basically all the way down to 0, and so they can attack for free.
Yeah, so I have a feeling this card's gonna be very, very popular because if you can attack for free, that really helps you out for sure. So definitely, if this card comes out onto your opponent's battlefield, try to knock it out.
Get it.
Get it. She does have an activate, so if you decide to forego turning her and activating her for mana, you can use Deceptive Maneuvers for 1 darkness mana. So I guess technically, does that include this creature on your active? If you have fewer than, yeah, I guess it reads it so it's free. Even though it's 1 darkness mana, it would cost free. Is that something that's gonna be FAQ'd on that, or is that?
Most likely. Most likely.
Yeah. I was just going to say, otherwise you might as well just have it for free. But no, so for 1 darkness mana, Deceptive Maneuvers, discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, you may move 1 of your active creatures to an unoccupied space on your battlefield. So that's pretty good. So you can basically move around your creatures if they are in danger, or if you need to plug up a hole, or if you just need to do whatever. You need to move a creature all the way across the battlefield, you can do that with Deceptive Maneuvers.
Exactly. And that's going to do it for our adventure class assassins, which brings us into the proper versions of the Umbertown creatures. So that's going to be everybody involved in the story, from NPCs to just like kind of regular units that we have. Starting off with our Black Cloak recruits. Again, those who are familiar with the EX battle deck, the Inquisition, these are going to be your primary attacker line. And so, starting with the Black Cloak recruit.
Yeah, they're really good. They've got 50 HP, so which is pretty basic for a primary attacking type. It's got the humanoid, human, Umbertown, and assassin keyword. So it's cool because they have the assassin keyword to be able to work with assassin type creatures, which is nice. They do have a drop ability, so when you play this card from your hand onto your battlefield, they gain haste. So they'll place this creature onto your battlefield in the unactivated position. So this is a really good card to have turn 1 to play directly from your hand onto the battlefield, because you can start attacking first turn.
Yep. You don't
potentially.
you don't get what other card games call summoning sickness with it. Haste is a pretty it's basically the speed drop ability
Mm-hmm.
as far as that goes. But she is an attacker, and so she does have a attack activate, which is for 2 darkness mana, Assassin's Blade for 40. Then it has the additional effect. Flip a coin. If the result is heads, the target gains the poison status ailment until it is removed from the battlefield, which essentially what the poison status ailment is it makes it so you can't heal in any way. So it doesn't have any negative effects from like losing HP like in other card games or anything like that. Essentially, it just you can't heal it in any way, whether it's from actions from your other creatures or from like consumable cards, art cards, anything like that that heals. They don't benefit from it.
And I'll say, like, from playing decks that give poison, poison's pretty crippling, especially because there's a lot of cards where you rely on having in your deck if they're getting close to dying, unless you got some sort of scoop up method. The fact that you can't heal just basically makes them a target for just knockouts. So, poison is stronger than it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. And they actually have a promotion, so they promote into the Black Cloak Warrior. So they are attacker type with 70 hit points. They're humanoid, human, Umbertown keywords with the drop ability Cursed Blade. If you have taken 3 or more points of damage from your life point total, choose one of your opponent's active creatures, and it gains the Cursed status ailment for D4 combat rounds. So Cursed is kind of another, not necessarily exclusive to the Dark Element, but you'll notice more Dark Element creatures have Curse as kind of a affliction that they can give to their opponents, which essentially what it does is it has different effects based off of what the target is. So if it is an attacker type creature, instead of the attacker having 2 movement, they only have 1 movement. And so it cripples the movement of attackers. Defender types, it makes it so they cannot be activated into, rotated into the guard position. So they basically lose their ability to plug up holes. And then for the support type characters, instead it basically makes it so they cannot rotate to generate mana into the activated position. So it takes away basically what makes all of the kind of 3 categories the 3 categories.
Yeah. So they're pretty good. Also, since it's an attacker, she's got an EX, or not an EX, an attack activate action for 2 darkness mana. So it doesn't go up. Her primary is 2 darkness mana. Her promoted is 2 darkness mana as well, and it is Umbral Whirl. So for 50 damage. So the primary target gets dealt 50 damage, and the secondaries each gets dealt 30. And so, yeah, especially if you have opponents in the middle or back rows, this is a really good attack to be able to use to hit opponents that are in the front rows.
Exactly. Kind of yeah, the way that I look at it is it's kind of like a spin, and so it like hits basically kind of like an arc of creatures, which as you can see in the way that this is all presented.
And the artwork, man, I love the backgrounds of the dark cards.
Yeah, very nice.
Very artsy.
Our next creatures that promote, these look like they are out of order, so that's tough. We're going to do this in an out of order way then. Sweet. Starting with Lady Helena, Matriarch of Umbertown. So she is going to be the primary like leader at this point in the adventure. She is the main leader of Umbertown, and so a lot of kind of the events in that adventure revolve around her. But
yeah, she's really good. So she's one of the staples in the EX battle deck, the Inquisitor EX battle deck. She is a support, however, she gets really, really strong late game. Not only because she's a primary support with 70 HP, which is a lot for a primary support. She is a captain, so she does count as one of your captains to be on the battlefield of your 3 that you can have. But she's worth it. She has the captain, humanoid, human, and Umbertown keywords, and she's got a really, really, really strong drop ability that's super strong late game. Matriarch's Word. So when you play this creature from your hand onto your battlefield, apply one of the following effects based on the amount of damage you have taken to your life point total. So it gets stronger the more life points you get taken away. So if you have had 3 plus damage taken from your life points. Choose one of your opponent's active creatures with 50 or fewer remaining hit points and slay it. If you've taken 5 or more damage, choose one of your opponent's active creatures with 90 or fewer remaining hit points and slay it. Or if you have 7 damage taken from you, meaning you only have 1 life point left, choose one of your opponent's active creatures and slay it. So it's an immediate, especially late game. There are creatures out there who are super daunting and super scary. She could just slay it without needing anything. And also, don't get me wrong, the 50 and the 90 is also super super strong, because that especially the 90 is good enough to take out most things on your opponent's battlefield. So it's really strong late game, and it's one of those cards as a support that could really swing the tide of battle for you.
But it is unfortunately not a very good card to play at the very beginning. I mean, it's great because you can use her as a support to generate mana, but where obviously the drop ability use comes in is a little bit later. But she does have bountiful resources for 1 darkness mana for a support action, which is discard 1 card from your hand and draw 5 cards.
Pretty good
draw.
That's actually really good. Yeah. So I know a lot of people, when they were playing the Inquisitor deck, mostly actually used her bountiful resources as opposed to rotating her from mana, because again, getting through your deck and being able to get the cards and resources in your hand to them was more important than using her to generate mana, especially if they had other mana generators on the field. So that's actually a very solid activate.
And that brings us into Marciella, Innocent Survivor. So she is she's interesting. So she, as you can see, she's a support character. She only has 30 hit points, so she might be tied for the squishiest character in all of Heroes of the West. But she has the humanoid, human, Umbertown keywords, and she has the drop ability. She only has a drop ability, which is Precious Innocence. So draw 1 card. So when you play her from your hand onto your battlefield, draw 1 card based on the amount of damage you have taken from your life point total. Draw 2 additional cards if you have a card with the name Reagan the Kinslayer active on your battlefield. So it pairs with another card, which we'll be getting to here shortly. But if you basically are playing her and you've either lost 1 or 2 life points, just draw 2 cards. If you have, and then that could also be 2 more cards on top of it if Reagan is active. Same applies for the others, which is 3 to 4 life points you have taken, draw 3 cards, 5 to 6, 4 cards, and then 7 damage, draw 5 cards. Again, that could be upwards of 7. So it's just like amazing draw. And then she definitely is going to be used for a mana engine if you can protect her.
Yep. So pretty good, pretty solid. I like her too. I like her artwork, and I'm so excited to learn when the Everlast tabletop RPG comes out, kind of the story between her and Reagan the Kinslayer.
Speaking of which, our next card is Reagan. He is going to be our first hero character that we have, which is, yes, Reagan the Kinslayer. Dane, why don't you go ahead and introduce him?
Yeah, so he's a captain. He's a defender type creature, so he's got a hefty 100 hit points as a primary. He's got the captain, humanoid, human, Umbertown, and assassin keyword, so that's cool. He's also got that assassin keyword to be able to use an assassin type decks. But he has the trait aggressive, so as long as he is active on your battlefield at the start of the attack phase before either player starts their turn, this creature may make an attack action. So regardless of whether you go first or second, he will be attacking before the attack phase. So yeah, aggressive is a very strong trait. Usually attackers have it. He's one of those rare defenders that has it. So
yep, and he's got the attack action. So if you forego rotating him into the guard position, he has for 3 darkness mana Claymore, which is 60 plus. So it attacks 1 target, and with the additional effect, if the creature Marciella, Innocent Survivor, is active on your battlefield, this attack action deals an additional 30 damage. So 90 damage. Again, it can hit really hard. It's kind of akin to the what we saw earlier with the Blackguard, as he is kind of a Blackguard, a little bit foil there.
yep. He could pair really well though with the spy, because I could bring that darkness mana total down more
Potentially
reasonably.
to free.
Yep, more reasonably. So it's pretty good.
And he does promote into our first EX creature of the set, which EX creatures, they if you do slay an EX creature, you take a point of damage from your life point total. They're a little bit stronger. They have EX actions, as you can see. But yeah, he is a good creature. Again, EX. He's 150 hit points, so he is one of the thicker things in the game. With the hero, captain, humanoid, human, Umbertown, assassin keywords, as a hero, you can only have one hero on your battlefield at a time. And so, of the 8 creatures on your battlefield, only one of them can be hero, and he still keeps the same trait, aggressive, which is at the start of the attack phase before either player starts their turn. This creature card may attack or may make any attack action. And so, yeah, he's pretty good. He just stays just as deadly, just as threatening, just with a lot more HP.
Yep. And if you decide to forego the defend action, you can use the attack activate with his aggressive trait, I guess. Betrayer Blade for 3 darkness mana. So again, a little bit expensive, but actually super good damage output. So the primary target gets dealt 90 damage, and then the target behind, if there is a target behind, gets dealt 40 damage. So again, this doesn't count towards a life point. So if you have a creature in the back row, it will just be dealt the 90 damage. So, and then it's got the EX activate. So if you decide to forego using its normal activate attack action, you can decide to use Mighty Protector for 4 darkness mana. It does 100 damage. It does have the additional effect. If you have a card named Marciela Innocent Survivor active on your battlefield, the attack action targets all enemy creatures with 1 space of the target enemy. So this has the potential to be one of the best AoE damage dealing attacks in the entire game, doing 100 damage to potentially 9 creatures. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It technically can be used to skip over frontline to attack, or backline creatures if there's only one creature in the backline, to attack life points. It's an expensive EX to attack all life points, but you could potentially also hit 100 to the 3 people in the backline.
And be picky and choosy, because you can only use the EX activate once on this specific card every game. So,
yep. But yeah, he's pretty cool. He and with the synergies of Marciela kind of makes up a little bit for her 30. Just hide her behind 1 or 2 spaces behind Reagan, and he will soak up damage with his 150 hit points. Yep. But that brings us into our next creature, which is our next hero, which is Sir Roland, the Oathbound Knight. He has 90 hit points, and so he is also a defender type. I believe he should be attacker type. That will be FAQ'd. He should be attacker type there. But he does have the Captain, Umbertown, Human, and our Humanoid and Knight keywords, and he's got the trait Brotherhood. At the end of the combat round, if you have at least 1 active creature with the Umbertown keyword, other than this creature, active on your battlefield, draw 2 cards. So that's just a free draw. If you have Umbertown creatures in your deck, at the end you could basically just draw 2 cards, which is awesome. I remember playing this deck a few times, and that is amazing. Really consistent draw power.
Yep, it's very strong. Also, his background art's awesome. I love it. All the cards honestly have been great so far, but this one in particular, I like the snowy kind of, his armor matches it. It's pretty solid. But he is an attacker type creature, so on the attack phase you can use his activate for 3 darkness mana, Claymore for 60 plus damage. So if you have taken 4 or more damage from your life points, total deal 40 more damage. So it's the exact same as Reagan.
10 more damage.
10 more damage. So again, that reflects his attacker type keyword. So pretty good. 100 damage for 3 energy, not too shabby.
And then he gets his EX, which is cool.
Yep. So Sir Roland Oathbound Knight EX, he's got 130 HP. He is an attacker type. He is a hero, captain, humanoid, human, Umbertown, and knight. Those are his keywords. And he does have the trait. So as long as he is active on the battlefield, Brotherhood works. And so at the end of the combat round, draw 2 cards. So it's just a stronger version.
Yep.
So.
You don't have to have any prerequisites met. It's just always the draw 2 cards. And he does have the attack action as well, the Viceroy Claymore for 60 plus. Same targets, just targets 1 creature. If you have taken 4 or more points of damage from your life point total, deal 60 more damage. So instead of a potential 100, it can deal 120. So it's a little bit stronger. And he also has the EX activate attack, which is Uphold Oath for 2 darkness mana. It's 150 damage to 1 creature, and it is remove an active creature named Marciela Innocent Survival on your battlefield from the game. If you do not remove this creature, deal 100 damage instead. So it's 150 or 100.
So poor Marciela.
Yep.
Poor Marciela.
So she actually synergizes technically with both characters. But that takes us into the Umbertown Guard.
Mhm. Which they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool beans. Do you want me to talk about the Umbertown Guard?
Do it.
Yeah, so he's a primary type creature. He is a defender type, so he's the defender Umbertown card. He's got 60 HP, which is pretty darn good. He's got humanoid, human, and Umbertown keywords, and he has a trait. So as long as he is active on the battlefield, defensive formation is active. So when you rotate this creature into the guard position, draw 1 card. So he's actually really good. You mainly want to use him for defending. But however, we'll see in the attack action, he's also a pretty solid option for just dealing damage as well, especially to life points. Yeah, you benefit for defending with him. So might as well defend with him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then he's got the attack action spear for 1 dark mana, which is again pretty good. He's good at stabbing life points for a very cheap 1 dark mana cost. But he has he deals 30 damage to the primary and 10 damage to the secondary.
Pretty cool.
And he promotes into the Knight of Umbertown. And so he's got 90 hit points, again, 30 more than his base form. And then he has the humanoid, human, Umbertown, and Knight keyword. So he gains that Knight keyword, which is cool. And he has the trait to defensive formation, which is the exact same thing. When you rotate this creature into the guard position, draw 1 card.
Yep. He also gets some sweet hair. Takes his helmet off and lets the flow. He's got an EA. He's got an activate. So on the attack phase, he can use Terrorblade for 50 if it decides to forego being turned into the defense position for 2 darkness mana. And flip a coin. On the result of a heads, the target gains the Frightened status ailment. With this creature being the source of its fear for D4 combat rounds. So that's pretty good, especially as a defender type creature. That kind of sucks because he plugs up spaces. So your opponent may potentially not even be able to attack if they can't move out of the way. So pretty good. Pretty
good.
solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And he essentially works as kind of like a workaround where like people like want to target him, but if you rotate him into the defense position, if they are like attacking, they might not be able to even like move through or attack him just because he can clog up to 2 spaces. And so he works as kind of a defender, not as soaking up damage, but more just preventing attacks, which is kind of a unique way. I did notice here I do not have the Grave Digger uploaded here. But you will be able to find out what the Grave Digger is if you go over to the video for the Inquisition EX Battle Deck.
Yeah. Also on the website, we do have the full list of the Heroes of the West cards. So go over to the Fantasy Forge Studios website, and then you can scroll through on the Google Docs that we have of it, and scroll down to the Grave Digger to see what he does. But he's a support, so he's a really good Umbertown support.
Yep, and he's got the drop ability Hunt, which is when you play this creature from your hand onto your battlefield, search your deck for up to 2 creatures and add them to your hand, shuffle your deck, which is pretty good. Yep. Compared to the Grave Digger, which is, I believe, shuffle 1 creature from your discard pile into your deck.
Yep, super good. If you decide to forego turning him for mana during your movement phase, you can use the during your movement phase collect bounty for 1 darkness mana. So discard 1 creature from your hand and draw 3 cards from the bottom of your deck. If you have taken 3 or more points of damage from your life point total, draw 5 cards instead. So again, very solid search engine. And there's not a lot of cards that draw cards from the bottom of your deck. So this is one of those few that does.
And there's some cards, too, that force you to add cards to the bottom of your deck. Like pick up a creature that's on your battlefield and put it into the bottom of your deck. So this would be a good way to be able to just get it right back into your hand if you kind of play that right.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty cool. And that is actually going to be our last card for the Heroes of the West Dark set. So if you do tune in next week, we will be going over the multi-element cards, which is going to be really cool, and then maybe some extra cards on top of that, as there are only 4, I believe, dual element cards in, or multi-element cards in the Raising of, or not the Raising of Helix, but the Heroes of the West. And that should be really good. That will actually be on Monday of next week. And so make sure to tune in for that. We'll be trying to do 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for that. Dane, do you have anything to add?
No. Check out the rest of our videos. We do have all the other elements up on YouTube at this point that this video will be up. And so if you're curious about all the other elements and synergies and places in the Heroes of the West set, those are all up on YouTube to be able to watch and hopefully provide really good resources to help you build some decks for the Everlast TCG moving forward.
Absolutely. And until then, we will see you later. Make sure to tune in a little bit later for our Raising of Helix Dark Element cards. Bye, everybody.